ॐ कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलम् यस्य ज्ञानप्रभवमतुलं रामचन्द्रस्य मोहम् दूरीकृत्वा सकलजगदामद्वयं घोषितं च तं योगीन्द्रं निगमनिलयं ब्रह्मणपुत्ररूपम् आनन्दाब्धिं गुरुवरमहं श्रीवसिष्ठं प्रपद्ये। नमस्ते. Welcome to the concluding episode of this 11-day Online Yogavasishta colloquium, which has been brought to you by Tadvanam Ashramam as part of the Mahashivarathri celebrations in the year 2024. Apart from this, in the next few hours, when the celebration begins, there are a lot of activities that are awaiting you at the Tadvanam Ashramam, at the Kalladikkode mountain top in the Palakkad district, Kerala, India. This is a unique place where the philosophy in its true sense is being revived, is being propagated without any kind of adulteration to it. It is not intended to please people, but it is intended to get peace for the people. So it's a strenuous journey also to the mountain top when you walk, but once you reach there, you will see the serene atmosphere, and I feel there is no better place to be on an auspicious night like Shivaratri. And hence I request all of you to come and join the Mahashivarathri celebration that's going to happen at the Tadvanam Ashramam. We will come to that towards the end. I can give the details of the various activities that are going on in the ashram on that particular day. So in this concluding session, my intention is not to again go into any other story or history or to bring about any new point which has been discussed in Yoga Vasishta. As you know, Yoga Vasishta is a vast text, 32,000 verses of pure bliss, pure knowledge, which has been written to us kindly by Maharishi Valmiki as the saying of sage Vasishta. It is impossible for anybody to cover this entire 30,000 verses in 11 days. Hence, we have picked and chosen the most important tenets of the text, and we have tried to present it to you. We started off by discussing the stage in which Sri Rama was at the age of 15 or 16 or 17. He completed his schooling and returned back and was in a confused state. he was in a mode of self-dejection, a depression, and that depression was caused by thinking about the transient nature of the world and not knowing how to deal with it. Many times the dejection, the depression happens when you find no way out. When you consider you are encaged, you are in a cage and there is no way out. But the fact is that if you simply strike the right place, the cage will open. Only few know how to strike it correctly, how to tap it. This is the sad reality. I'm not talking in terms of a spiritual aspect of this, even from a social aspect. There could be people around you who are in such situation, who need help, who want to cry out loud but they cannot because of the social prejudices. Think about it. Anyways, coming back to the original situation of Sri Ramachandra Prabhu, he was a God incarnate. We all understand this. And he cannot remain in that dejected state forever. He had a purpose in life. And so do we. We also have a purpose in life and we cannot remain in the dejected or depressed state. We need to figure that out. And the purpose of every life, not just human, not just animals, not just plants, not just rocks, anything that is available which has a manas. And the text says that even the rocks have mind in an inert state. So the purpose of every moving and non-moving things in the world which are born is to realize the self and to get out of the game of birth and death. So like Sri Rama's Avatara duty, Avatara Dautya, the purpose of his life, of his incarnation, was to be explored only after getting rid of the Maya, the Brahma, the Ajnana that he had in his mind. So do we. We all are in this state of Ajnana where we believe ourselves to be ignorant, and the Yoga Vasishta is the best medicine which cured Sri Ramachandra, which can cure any human being which is hearing this and adhering this wholeheartedly. So Sri Rama was advised initially by sage Vishwamitra by giving the story of Shuka, how he got the affirmation on the self when he heard the same thing and got the confirmation from sage Janaka, King Janaka. Then he hands over Sri Rama's advice to Vasishta, who was the guru, and Vasishta starts advising Sri Rama. The Yoga Vasishta says this advice went on for 18 day and night. Somehow 18 is very important number. Gita has 18 chapters. This went on for 18 days. Mahabharata had 18 parvas. The fight itself happened for 18 days. There are 18 Puranas, 18 Upapuranas. So 18 is somehow a number that is being repeated knowingly or unknowingly in our scriptures. So 18 days this went on, and it is said that the whole Devas, Siddha, Charanas, Gandharvas, Yakshas, every celestial beings were present in that hall in invisible form to hear this, to get this nectar drunk. So Vasishta takes Rama through a lot of histories of liberated souls to show him how we can control our mind and we can get the realization affirmed. He starts off with the Leelopakhyana, the famous story of Leela and Padma. You remember that? The story in which Padma's body was kept and Leela and Saraswati goes into the house of the previous birth of Padma, which is Vasishta, who died 8 days ago, and here Padma was living for years. And then they moved to the Viduratha, the new body taken by Padma, and finds that he has been living there for 17 years while Padma had died only 1 day ago. This whole mystic things which has no reason was seen by Leela, and by this story Vasishta says there is no reason for the Maya. There is no rule for Maya. There is no way in which you can define how the mind operates. The only thing that you need to worry about is how to get rid of this. Don't go behind finding each and every details about this Maya, because it's of no use. You will not be able to find out. Look at the modern physics. I'm not against the scientific temper, but at some point people who understand that this is futile to go behind the physical objects, trying to identify a theory that connects all of them, the unified theory, while that theory is already present here, only from a different plane. So let them continue, but the people who realize the futility in that, they will have to come to the philosophical aspect, and more or less the physics is also tending towards concepts that cannot be perceived without you imagining a fifth dimension or sixth dimension. Without that, you will not be able to conceive many of these principles. That's a different topic altogether. I don't want to get into the detail. Best wishes for the people who are trying for that. But the people who have understood that maybe that will lead us nowhere, they will have to turn inward. And when you turn inward, you would have to come to the philosophy of Eastern or Western, and you will have to rely on looking at yourself. That is something which you will have to do once you realize the futility of going behind the physical world and object and trying to find the reason and the laws which ruled the physical world. Now coming back to our story, after Leela story, there was the story of Suji, Karkati, who takes the form of Vishuchika, goes and eats people, gets fed up with that and starts doing penance. And even though she is a demon, she gets the liberation, and she gets in touch with the king of the Kirata Mandala, and they become friends. So in that story we saw how cryptically some questions are put forth to the king by Karkati, and the king and the wise minister answers to them as the Bodha, the Atma. The answer was Atma. What is subtle than an atom which contains the entire universe? Atman. What is it that is a sky which is not a sky? Atman. We discussed all this. So Karkati's story ended. Then we went to Shambari Gopakhyana, where the king Lavana of Uttarapandava, he was driven into a magical experience, and in that mind he lives the life of a Chandala for 12 years. And why he had to do it? Because of the Rajasuya and the associated things. And what he did afterwards, he goes out and figures out that whatever he saw in the dream was actually existing elsewhere. Again, the point proven that Yat Kritam Manasa Rama Tat Kritam Vidhi Raghava. Yat Tyaktam Manasa Nama Tat Tyaktam Vidhi Raghava. What is done by the mind is what is done. So, King Lavana had done the Rajasuya in the mind, and he got the result. And he lived this 12 years as Chandala in the mind, and he was relieved from the pain that he had to struggle in the other life, in the life as Lavana, which again is a dream. So we discussed about that also. This waking state is just another long dream. The other dream was of Chandala was for 12 years. This is for how many years that you live. It's another dream. There is nothing real in this world. We discussed about this, and then we discussed about the Sapta Bhumikas of Ajnana and Jnana. We have the Bija Jagrat, Jagrat, Mahajagrat, Jagrat Swapnam, Swapnam, Swapna Jagrat, and Sushupti. The Jnana Bhumikas. Which are the Jnana Bhumikas? We have Shubhecha, Vicharana, Tanumanasa, Sattvabhakti, Asamsakti, Padartha Bhavana, and Turyata. You remember these names? Somehow I remember this. So we have these 7 Jnana Bhumikas and Ajnana Bhumikas. And the mind travels through them one by one, and there are many intermediary stages. Vasishta clearly says this. Don't believe these are the only stages and it jumps from one to another. No, it travels through. There is a path. Only thing is that the rishis have kindly defined a path for us to judge where we are and to take the next step. So these 7 Jnana Bhumikas and Ajnana Bhumikas were discussed, and all this while Rama is being advised of the principles of Advaita too. And the most important one is Chitta Tyagam, Hi Sarva Tyagam. The renunciation of the mind, Chitta, is the ultimate renunciation. And we have seen how Rama is being advised about repeatedly about the world, how it appears. There is Bodha, consciousness, then there is Sankalpa, which is the imagination, and then there is world. All that we need to do is to remove this middle layer of Sankalpa, and there is no world. Then what remains? Just the consciousness, just the you. So removing Manas Sankalpas, the imagination of the mind, the vasanas which prompt us to work, that is the only way to get liberated. Many verses comes wherein it is said that a mind free from vasanas, free from thoughts, is Brahman, and a mind which is having vasana and having thoughts is mind. The world which appears before you is nothing but the Brahman. Once you have that kind of a ahankara, it is a good ahankara. You remember the 3 types of ahankara? One is that I am everything. I am Brahman, I am everything. Including you and this and that, I am everything. This is one good ahankara. The second ahankara is that I am none of these. I am different from all these. These are all jadas. I am Chaitanya and I am subtle. This is the second good ahankara. Third ahankara is that I am doer, I am this, I am that. So what Vasishtakara says is that the 2 ahankaras, good ahankaras, are good to have until you reach certain stage, and then you will have to drop them also. And then what remains? Because ahankara is an impulse. Ahankara always comes as I. It's an impulse which is moving. Anything that moves will naturally fade away. It will die. Anything that dies cannot be true. So your ahankara cannot be true. See how logically they have put the philosophy. The world appears as Vivarta Brahma from the Brahman. I told this. What is Vivarta? Vivarta is not Anubhava, an experience which is caused without any mutation to the underlying subject. We discussed about the fear of snake in a rope. It's a Vivarta Brahma. The rope remains the same. The rope does not undergo any change. The rope is containing all the properties of the rope. Then you have 2 Shaktis. One is the Avarana Shakti and the other is Vikshepa Shakti. Avarana Shakti hides the reality. Vikshepa Shakti projects something else on it. So the reality of the rope, as the rope was hidden by the dim light, and your imagination about the serpent went into that and you started seeing the Vivarta Brahma of that rope being the serpent. You remember these discussions that we had? When will that end? When you get the light. When you get the light, you will say, just a rope. Then what were you doing all this while thinking that it is a snake and I need a stick to hit it, I need a first aid kit to protect myself in case it bites me? All these things were stupidity when you realize this self. I mean this rope as rope. The same way, I need to get an admission for my kid, I need to get a new car, I need to get a house, I need to get a better position, my health is deteriorating, I need to go for a rejuvenation. When the light comes and you realize that you are the self, you would feel, what was I doing all this while? Right? So the earlier you get it, the better. Don't wait for doing all this futile activities thinking that you are not the self and you are this body, and towards the end, if you get the knowledge, you almost have lost a life. It's a different matter that thereafter you wouldn't have a life, but still. And the Shastra says it might not happen in this life. You can continue from the next life. We discussed this also, right? That there is no downfall in this path. So you should not be worried at all to proceed in this path. One thing, you are not going to fall down. Second thing, at one janma, on a day, you would definitely realize this. Third, without realizing this, you are always going to be in this cycle. Fourth, the earlier you realize, the better. So there is every reason for you to plunge into the Atma Vichara and start doing it from right now. While listening to this, start thinking, who is listening to this? Who am I? This is the ultimate thought that will burn all other thoughts. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi clearly states this. Who am I is the one thought which will burn all the other thoughts, and then you can reject that also. You will have to. Once you go to that impulse level, from there you will have to renounce and find out your own true self. This is not against any other path. This is actually the union, the yoga of all the paths. Be it Raja Yoga, I think we discussed this in a bit during our initial discussions. Raja Yoga thinks of Chittavritti Nirodha. Here, Vasishta says the same thing. Only thing is that he goes a little beyond that. And because even when you do the Raja Yoga and do the Chittavritti Nirodha, your Ahankara will still remain. This is the problem with all the other paths, and this is where it all culminates into the Jnana Marga. You as a Bhakta would be able to dedicate everything to your beloved Lord, and you would be able to concentrate only on Him, have His thought alone as Hari or Shiva or Jesus, whatever. And you would have this single thought. But again, you would have this notion of you being separate, Him being separate. Dvaitam. Dvaitat bhayam bhavati, advaitameva abhayam. When you think of separate, you would have the fear. Oh, will I lose my Rama? Will I lose my Krishna? Will I ever forget about him? Oh, next life I might not be able to do this. You will have fear, anger, all the emotions, but very positive. I'm not denying that it is highly developed souls alone can get into that, but still there will be duality. And when there is a duality, you have fear, you have all the emotions which may occur. Again, it is not mandatory that it has to happen, but it may. You will have the sadness when you lose the sight of Rama. Saint Tyagaraja, in many verses, he pleads to the Lord to give him darshan because the Lord goes away. In Bhagavata, you would see the gopis having the ultimate love for Krishna, they singing in sadness to get the darshan of Bhagavan when he goes away as a leela, as a play. And likewise, there are numerous instances where it is recorded that even a bhakta will have to renounce. The gopis will renounce their love for Krishna, and they would realize that Krishna is not just this person, he is all pervading Brahman. In Gopika Gita, they say, Nakhalu Gopika Nandano Bhavan Akhila Janmanam Andaratmadruk. How profound an idea. You are not this son of Gopika. You are the I which is hidden inside all the living beings. Akhila Dehinam Andaratmadruk. The I of the I, which is the Bodha. They realize this. That is why it is called Prema Bhakti. In the Prema Bhakti, it is completely standing on the Advaita and still loving. And that is by the realization that Krishna is not just that body. Krishna is everywhere. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. That is Advaita. So the bhakti also has to culminate here. Hanuman, who is one of the greatest devotee, he says at one point that when I feel that this is body, then I am your servant and you are the master. But when I feel that I am the Atman, both of us are same. He tells this to Rama. That is the ultimate aim. That should be the ultimate aim. Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna, after realizing the Advaita also, he kept on repeating Kali's name. That is something which is very unique, very special. That is why he is called the incarnation, Avatar Varishta. The Karma Yoga again will have to culminate here. We saw in that story of Shikhitwaja how Shikhitwaja was involved in karma. He left the Raja karma and he took the Tapasa karma, the sage karma, and he started doing penance and all the worship. But it was in futile because he had the notion that I am the doer. Karma Yoga in Bhagavad Gita, if you look into that very detailed, it points to the stage where you do not feel that you are the doer. Your ahankara has to fade away. It has to go. You have to uproot it. So every path is culminating to this single point where it is focusing on who is the bhakta, who is the karmi, who is the Rajayogi, and who that is. Who am I? I do not think even the people who follow those paths realize. And Yoga Vasishta very clearly tells, and as I told, it is not to please anybody. It doesn't care whether you are happy for hearing this or not, but it tells the truth on the face. It gives you the right path without any consideration whether you like it or not. Because your likes and dislikes are the things that you need to renounce to get into this path, right? Your likes and dislikes are of no concern because you are the self. Your likes and dislikes are because of your vasanas, which is what you need to renounce, which is what you need to give away. So Vasishta from the beginning till the end maintains this single steady thought without any kind of wavering to please anybody, to appease anybody. I don't think there are many texts like this which single pointedly leads you to where you should be. So we saw the story of Gadhi. Gadhi again wanted to see the Maya, and he sees the Maya. He lives the life of a Chandala and he becomes the king. In a place called Kira Mandala. You remember these names? And in Kira Mandala he rules for 8 years. And once he was realized as a Chandala, everybody goes into the fire and dies. He also tries to die and he wakes up as Gadhi. And few days later an Atithi comes, a guest comes, who says, I was in Kira Mandala and I heard all these stories. And Gadhi was surprised. Gadhi goes and finds that he, the Chandala family where he lived, the Kira Mandala kingdom, and he finds everything as he saw in the dream when he took a dip in the lake. All these histories of great souls were being told to Rama. Finally we saw Shikhithujapakhana where Chudala, remember Chudala was a lady and she attained the liberation before Shikhithuja. Even when we discussed about Karkadi, we discussed the same point. Karkadi was a lady and she was a demon too, and even she got the Atmajnana. So Atmajnana does not limit to anybody, to any distinction if we make, then it does not fit to be called as the complete philosophy, right? It cannot and it will not. The caste, creed, sex, nationality, color, none of these matters. None of these matters. All that matters is your Shraddha. is your dedication, is your effort and your determination that I am going to get it. Like how Chudala did, right? Chudala did the Atma Vichara day and night. That is why she was able to gain it easily. I mean, gaining again is a technical term I use. It is not to be gained or given. We saw this also in Shikhidhvaja Vakhyana, right? The Atma Jnana cannot be given, cannot be taken. It just has to be realized. And there is no change. Because this is Vivarta Brahma. The world is Vivarta. The base remains the same. The Brahman has no change. Only you assume, you impose, you project the world into it. Like how you project the film on a screen in a theatre. The screen is untouched by that. The car moves in the screen, but is the screen moving? No. That is the unchanging base, unchanging truth. And what moves is the changing illusion. Correct? So, we need to identify that truth. When will that happen? When this projection stops. When the projector stops working, then you will see the screen. Right? And then you will realize, oh, there was actually no car, it was just a screen. So, think of the world as this. The projection is coming out of your mind. The mind stops, mind subsides, world subsides. Remember this? This was the first point to ponder. The mind is projecting this. The mind has to be subsided by removing the thought. Chittavritti nirodha. And once we attain that, then the self will glow in itself. It doesn't require any outwardly effort. That is what we saw in Shikhidhvaja Vakhyana. All this penance and puja is to get rid of those vasanas. That's it. It wouldn't give you mukti. And as I told, Vasishta is very cutthroat in this. Philosophy, it doesn't give any scope for you to say, but if, no ifs and buts. This is the reality and I am telling you that on the face. Guru Upadesha, it wouldn't give you a self-realization. We try to hide behind all these things. Mind has this peculiar tendency to hide behind, to find excuses. And Vasishta pulls you out of it and makes you naked in front of the truth. It clearly gives you two options. This is the reality, either accept or tell that I am a coward, I cannot do it. I am not fit for this, I cannot do it. Don't tell all the excuses that Guru, this, that, Bhagavan, bestowing the, showering his mercy and getting me liberation. All those cannot happen. Your intellect, your Shuddha Buddhi is responsible for your liberation. Your Tyaga is responsible for your liberation. Don't hide behind anybody else. I don't think there is any other text which completely turns your thoughts upside down. So, in the Shikhitvajopakhyaana, which I told is one of the important histories that are mentioned here, this comes very clearly. We see that Chudala was not able to make Shikhitvaja realize. Then she takes the form of Kumbha, a divine boy, and with the help of Kumbha, he realizes it. He changes the form, or Chudala changes the form to Madanika to test Kumbha's affirmity, Shikhitvaja's affirmity on the self. And we see at the end that Shikhitvaja, who initially left the kingdom and came here to do the Tapasavritti, goes back into the kingship, Rajavritti. But without the notion that I am the doer. Isn't it that the ultimate aim? To remain in the karma without getting attached to it. To remain in bhakti, to remain in Raja Yoga without getting the notion that I am the doer. You may remain in anything. It doesn't matter. You can live the world. But after realizing the self. Then it wouldn't. Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna says you have to put the oil on the hand before you cut the jackfruit. Otherwise, it will stick onto your hand. The same way, the oil of Viveka and Vairagya has to be applied before you enter into the world. Then you wouldn't get stuck to that. The world will not stick to you. A simple example with profound implications. Think of this. Nobody is asking you to leave your family and go to penance, because through Shikhitvaja's history we came to know that it is of no use and you can attain liberation by staying in where you are. Nobody is asking you to put to Rudraksha and all this outwardly signs and do the japa. As long as being in what you are doing, while doing it, if you can continue Atma Vichara and realize who am I, it's enough. Outwardly, renunciation, if you want, you can, but then it is not mandatory. It is not enough also. Outwardly, renunciations are not mandatory or enough, because those will still have this notion of I renounced, like Shikhitvaja had. And Sarvatyaga will be complete only when you renounce this I-ness. Unless you do that, it's not going to be complete. So with Shikhitvajopakhyaana we understood these principles. Now, as like any other text, Yoga Vasishta also concludes by giving the benefits. So it says that anybody who listens to this, anybody who understands this, anybody who thinks about it will be purified, and it should not be given to the unworthy people who are not mentally capable to grasp this in its true essence, and it gives the benefits of the Atma Vichara, Atma Jnana, and it towards the end it again repeats the same principles which were discussed in the earlier chapters. So after 18 days of Upadesha, Guru Vasishta concludes this, and Rama was filled with joy. He says that it is a blessing that you have given me. I have realized that I was in a dilemma and I have realized the truth. You are the ultimate Guru who dispels the ignorance, and I bow to you. And he prostrates before Vasishta. The Devas and Siddhas and Charanas and Gandharvas and Yakshas who were waiting and listening this for the 18 days, they come in real form. They do the stutis or the appreciation of what has been done, what has been told, and the story continues. There it says how this Atma Vichara, even for a moment, is worth. So it says, Snanam tena samasta tirtha salilei sarvapi dattavanyeh yajnanam cha kritam sahasramakhila devascha sampujita samsaracha samuthrita swapitaras trailokya pujopyasau yasya brahma vicharane kshanamapi stairyam manah prapnuyat. One who has attained even for a minute second the stability in Brahman, he has to be considered like he has taken bath in all the great tirthas, sacred places, and he has given a lot of danas or donations or philanthropy, and he has done a lot of sacrifices, yajnas. He has done the puja for the devas. He has taken out his forefathers from their worldly life and death cycle. Such greatness is bestowed on a person who has even for a moment thought about Brahman and got stability in that. So think of the people who are Brahmanishtas, who always remain immersed in the Brahman. How great they are. And as I told, this is coming only by practice, not on a moment. And always we need to keep this Brahmabhyasa continuing. So Rama was completely devoid of the illusion. He becomes still, his mind becomes clear, his body is having a shine, the Lakshmi comes and sits in his chest, his eyes are overflowing with tears of joy, and thus Valmiki tells this story to Bharadwaja, that this is how all this culminated, all this ended. And Bharadwaja says, okay, I am fascinated to see the story of, or hear the story of Lord Rama. I am just wondering when I will be able to get this. Valmiki says, what is the... You just need to follow the instructions, same instructions. It will work for anybody. It did not work because it was Rama. It is a universal principle. You start trying it and you will get it. Always remember and try to affirm that you are the Bodha Swarupa. Your real nature is Bodha. You are not the body or mind. And this world is your Sankalpa. Once you start doing it, once you do the negation, the neti, we discussed about that. And once you affirm the reality, then you would get this. Once you remove the name and form and see it without that, then you will realize this. Once you realize this is all a play and there is no reality behind this, you will attain this. So you don't have to worry, but just proceed on the path. And he gives some practical advices as to how to do this. You have to get the indriyas, they have to go and merge in the tattva, and the tattva has to go and merge in the manas, and the manas has to go and merge in the atman. So likewise, a practical demonstration is also presented to Bharadwaja, and Bharadwaja was happy, and he abides by the advices of Valmiki, and he becomes self-realized. So this is the Yoga Vasishta, and the Yoga Vasishta, from the beginning till the end, tells only one thing: Punyapapa vinirmuktam karanam jagatah param advitiyam param jyoti brahmasmyanandam advayam. I am devoid of the sin and the result of good deeds. I am the reason for this world. I am non-dual, supreme Brahman, which is the unchanging, undivided bliss. This is the ultimate reality that a person has to perceive. And through Yoga Vasishta, one will clearly see this. One will clearly understand this. One will clearly be able to make this conviction in his mind. So that ends our discussion about Yoga Vasishta for the last 11 days. It was something which came to me by the grace of my forefathers and Bhagavan and Gurus. To know this text and to get a little bit of the knowledge from that is something which I consider great, and I am blessed by that. Sri Jayakumar Ramakrishnan of Tadvanam Ashramam, he always quotes Yoga Vasishta whenever we have a discussion about this topic, and he would ask me, haven't you read this story, and or this particular instance, or he would say, oh, in the Shikhittu Japakhana it's clearly written, why is there a confusion? And always this was something which is repeated over and over, and today, to go through them, to understand them, to realize the significance of those messages, I really feel blessed. I would like to thank each one of you for listening to this for the last 11 days. It's not easy. I am not cracking jokes, or I am not telling any other stories associated other than what is given in the text. So it is very difficult to stay focused and to completely understand this, but you have been doing that. I am grateful to you for that. I am grateful to the Tadvanam Ashramam for giving me this opportunity to present this sacred text to all of you through this online medium. I am grateful to the organizers of and the office bearers of Tadvanam Ashramam for taking an initiative like this on this auspicious occasion of Shivaratri. And I am ever indebted to Sri Jayakumar Ramakrishnan for persuading me, for guiding me, for correcting me, for making this possible. Without his guidance or without his constant pressure to learn this topic, I would not have been able to do this. So I am indebted to him, and overall, above all, I am thankful to the great Rishi Parampara, to Lord, and to all of you for making this happen. In the Tadvanam Ashramam, on the Shivaratri day, we would be having various activities. In the daytime, we would be having the Satyakama Vaidika Award ceremony, which is given to Dr. Surendra Nidakkidatha, who is a great scholar of Sanskrit, who has completely translated the entire Maharamayana or Yoga Vasishta into Malayalam, and who is a vast ocean of knowledge. Not just Yoga Vasishta, he has translated around 30 Sanskrit texts in very lucid Malayalam, and he is a great scholar, and he is being our admiration to him is being presented as the Satyakama Vaidika Award on the Shivaratri day at the Tadvanam Ashramam. And in the previous years, we had given into the Vedic scholars Kotamangalam Vasudeva Nambudri and Nara Sitti Ravi Nambudri. Those were the recipients of the previous Satyakama awards. This time it is Dr. Surendra Nidakkidatha, and we would have the Sri Sukta Japa. So the Tadvanam Ashramam has published the Sri Sukta, which was out of print for years, with the Vyakhyana of the Sri Sukta. It will be chanted on that day. We have cultural activities by the kids in the evening. We have Tachindanam, a discussion on the Yoga Vasishta led by Jayakumar Ramakrishnan in the evening. We would be having Vagambhini Sukta Homa, Vaidika Homa in the night, which Vagambhini Sukta is one of the most, it is also called Devi Sukta. It is one of the most revered suktas in the whole Rigveda, which directly talks about the self-realized person. And I will have the Bhasma Nirmana, or the preparation of the holy ash using Gomaya. And likewise, this whole night of Shivaratri would be of bliss, enjoyment and realization. We are requesting all of you to come and join us on that particular day. I hope there will be streaming. Because of the network issues on the hilltop, there could be some issues with that. I am not sure. We'll try to arrange it. Otherwise, those will be published in the Tadvanam Ashramam YouTube channel. Please do watch. If possible, please do come in person. That would be the greatest thing that you can do to yourself on that auspicious day. And with that request, and the request to support this great endeavor of Tadvanam Ashramam in whatever ways you can, physically, mentally, financially, please do so. It's a humble request, so that this great treasures of our Bharat can be distributed to the world and carry forward for the generations to come. So, once again, a great namaste to all of you. I prostrate on the feet of each and every one of you and request you to bless me. And I dedicate this whole thing at the lotus feet of Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna. Om Tat Sat.